Did you know that about 70% of the agricultural sector in Nigeria is made up of small scale, family sized agricultural businesses? Now, these businesses are basically, like the name implies, small. They're meant to feed the family, pay bills, and then whatever is left, maybe they save, they invest, or they put it back into the business. I was born into a family like that, but my family was into fish farming. So my dad grew catfish, and I was actively involved in the family business from when I was about 7 years of age up until about 17 when I started looking for admission to get into school and have a path out of life for myself. But with that experience, I knew that agriculture could be better. And even now, I know better with the information we have now from research, from experiences of other farmers, and my own personal experience as well. I've been able to make a list of problems that are prevalent in agriculture today. And I'll be talking about these problems over the course of my videos. But for now, I want you to run along with the list. I'm not sure you can see the list quite clearly, but I'll just read them out and walk us through. So the first problem is fragmentation. So farmers today work in silos. Like I said, because they are small scale businesses, a lot of them are small scale businesses. They are self-sustained. They don't really rely on any other persons to just handle these things themselves, survive, and then just maintain the pace. They don't really think much about scaling or things like that. Or even if they think about scaling, it's quite difficult for them to scale because by the time they take off the bills, they take off the money for bills, they take off money for whatever is left out of the profit they make is not enough to scale per se in a way that would keep the business running on a bigger scale. So fragmentation is one problem with agriculture in Nigeria. The second problem is data sharing. So it's still kind of related to fragmentation since everyone seems to work in silos, or most people tend to work in silos. I mean, 70% is a huge number. So if 70% is fragmented and working in silos, then you would, of course, know that there is big problem with information sharing. Oftentimes, there are like WhatsApp groups of different chunks of business owners, but the information just stays within these WhatsApp groups. And if a person in these groups is supposed to be in other groups, then they can get to relay information, but then it's quite difficult to spread information quite quickly. And there are times when it happened in the past based on my family's experience, because at some point we moved from catfish to rearing pigs, so we had a pig farm. There was a time there was an outbreak of a particular virus, I would say, or a bacteria. I'm not sure which it was, but it took time for farmers in our own area to get to know of it, and it already started affecting farmers in our area before we got to learn of it. But if there was a way for that information to be dispersed, only a smaller amount of farmers would have been affected before this particular disease would have been curbed. So data sharing is a huge problem that is facing agriculture today. The next problem is funding. It's still kind of related to the fragmentation problem, but this has to do with the structure. So because these businesses, these farmers run on a small scale, mainly to sustain their families, they're not really structured in a way where someone can walk in and invest in them, even though they want to, because there's no structure to track things. There's no structure to see how much profit, how much loss they're making, and what growth looks like for them. So because of lack of structure, it's quite difficult for them to get funding, even if their business looks like it's something worth funding. Um, yeah, the next problem would be high entry barrier. So think about someone who wants to go into a poultry business for the first time. They have to think about the land. Even if they were to go rent a place, they would have to think about the land or the facility they would want to rent. They would have to think about the first set of birds they would want to buy. If you were to go into crop farming, you also have to think about land. You have to think about seedling. You have to think about clearing. You have to think about the workers who would help you plant. You'd have to think about weeding and all of those things. So when you put all of this together, you see that there is so much to worry about when you want to go into agriculture as a newbie. This is a problem that is quite common and is also preventing people from getting into agriculture, even if they want to, because we do know agriculture is like the future, but then it's not so easy for everyone to go in. And then you also have to deal with agriculture as a full-time thing with your 9 to 5 if you are a full-time staff as well. We also have novice buyers. So this is quite broad in scope, a problem, but I would give you a bit of insight as to what I mean. In 2018, 2017, 2018-ish, when we ventured into the pig farm or the pig business, we got pigs from people who we thought knew their onions. We thought they were good because they've been into this business for quite a while. So my dad trusted their knowledge, he trusted their resources and their advice. He got into the business and we ran it for about a year. And my dad being a very resourceful person, he did a lot of research on his own. He found out that what he was seeing from his research online, what other farmers in other spaces, say in South Africa, were doing, was quite different from the pig business we were running. We got to realize that the breeds we got or we have in our farm were kind of local breeds and we're not growing as much. So you see a pig of 6 months weighing around 20 to 30 kg after having invested a lot of money in feeding them. And this just wasn't making sense. We're losing a lot of money. But from his research, he found out that ideally for about 6 months, you'd have around 100 kg. So that is 5 times what we currently had as the produce from our farm. So we're basically losing a lot of money. Fast forward to 2 years after that, we had exotic breeds, so we had to purge the farm of those breeds we had, and we got foreign breeds from South Africa and some other locally sourced breeds that were kind of imported, and we're getting this 5x the initial value we're getting. So we had pigs of 120 kg, 100 kg, 90 kg, 80 kg for the same 5 to 6 months that we're getting 20, 30 kg, 40 kg for before. So the knowledge gap when it comes to agriculture causes people to fail. Oftentimes the first attempt goes wrong because they are not using the right information, or they might be using an outdated version of the information for the particular sector that they are venturing into. I believe this also applies to other sectors like the crop farming as well. I believe this also applies to poultry, but my experience is quite limited at the moment to fishery and piggery. So I believe others who have more experience in these fields would talk more on this as time progresses. But novice bias is a problem that affects people. I'll talk in details about each of these problems in separate videos. That way this video is not too long. The next problem is security. Now, this is a very, very common problem, and I will just break it down in this format. Security applies to farmers losing their produce to their workers. It happened to us both in the fishery business. It applied to the pig business as well. We had farmers selling our pigs. So this applies to, I mean, think about it. It applies to the poultry business. It applies to even the crop business as well. So it applies everywhere. And apart from farmers losing their products to their workers, people from external sources or external bodies also come in, steal from your farm if you don't have proper security in place. There is also marketing and sales. So I put marketing first because a lot of farmers tend to worry about just producing. And then when they are done producing, they now start worrying about how to sell. So they may not have access to the right network of customers, the right network of logistic partners to help things. Logistics is another problem on its own. So marketing basically would cover them having access to the right customers, although the market for this agricultural product is huge. But there are seasons where you produce and you don't seem to have customers. This has applied to based on our experience. I've seen this play out in the aqua space where we had catfish for 2 months longer than we should have them, costing us to lose money because we didn't have customers who were ready to buy them. And this happens in seasons, like I said. So there are seasons where there's a lot of fish in the market, and you as a farmer who grows fish might find it difficult to sell. This might also apply to the pig business as well. So if you were selling pigs and you are in a season where people don't tend to eat pigs a lot, then you might have problems with marketing. So this marketing and sales is a problem that needs to also be looked into, especially for new farmers. Then you also have storage and processing. This problem is, I would say, one of the major reasons why a lot of agricultural products are lost after harvest. So you have a farmer who has harvested tons of corn. They're not sure where to store them, and then some of this corn goes bad. Some of them get spoiled while trying to get customers. This applies to mostly, I would say, crop products. For livestock, it still applies, but oftentimes livestock would be processed when they have demand for them. But if you're a farmer who kills or processes your products and waits for them to be shipped, then this might be a problem. But storage and processing is another problem in agriculture, which I'll be breaking down later on. The next problem is logistics, the mother of them all. So you have a farm in Ogun State, in Ondo State, and you have your customers in Lagos, and they want to buy in huge volumes, or you have customers scattered in 3 places. How do you transport these products to them? This is a problem that a lot of farmers face, which we'll be breaking down in bits later on, and we'll dissect it and see solutions that we can present. The last one I'll be talking about is mortality and disease control. So mortality has to do with animals dying on you. We've had experience where pigs just die. I mean, they're livestock, they have life, and you don't control their life. So there are times when these things happen. It's part of the business. So you have to be aware of when these things happen, why they happen. Sometimes they are kind of linked to certain weather conditions or climate conditions or environmental conditions as well. So it might not be a disease, it might just be a particular time of the year when they have a lower resistance to a particular flu or something that just causes them to die a lot easier. For the fish business, we had times when we tend to lose more fish when the water level increases. So it causes a lot of different elements to be in the water, and then we have to either turn up a filtration system to kind of filter out a lot of the impurities, or kind of have other chemicals to kind of balance the situation or the alkalinity of the water for our fish to survive. I believe this applies to livestock more, the problem of mortality, but disease control applies not just to livestock but also to crop farming as well. So these are problems we'll be talking about a lot more in detail as we progress. But for now, I'll be stopping here. I'll be making videos talking about each of these problems, talking about solutions, listening to feedback from the audience, seeing how to also peer into regional problems out of the list that I've made here, because I believe there are a lot more problems, but I would stop at 10. So I would want you to watch, drop comments about possible problems that I may want to add to this list. And if you have solutions to these problems, or if you want to speak about these problems or any of the problems I've listed, I'm happy to have us hop on a call or even do a recording together to talk more about these problems, educate the public. The goal for me is to bring these problems to light, to educate, to share this knowledge on a bigger scale than this. And we have an app that we're currently building to unify the entire end-to-end value chain of agriculture. I'll be talking more about this app later on, but this app would be helping us with the problem of fragmentation, data sharing, logistics, funding, processing. So for now, just stay tuned, watch, and I would love to hear what you think. That'll be all for now, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.